Lou here. For those new here or just tuning in, it may not look like it because of my cutesy pastel girly aesthetics, but Silent Hill 2 is my favorite video game of all time. I got into it around 2016 and for a lot of reasons, it's been a game near and dear to my heart. That said, it sucks being a Silent Hill fan sometimes. At the time I was playing, PT was cancelled only a few years ago and Konami was shitting on the series by making pachinko games in Japan. However, Konami finally recognized its audience, or got intimidated by its rival Capcom's brilliant remake of Resident Evil 2, and created a remake for Silent Hill 2. Today, let's take a look at it and see how it holds up. Now, to make a remake of Silent Hill 2 has left people mixed. You have people like me who love seeing this game from people who clearly loved it and give the game a chance to shine brighter than it already does. And then you have other people who hate the concept of a remake and just want a remaster instead. I definitely do agree a remaster should be available for those who can't play the remake because of its intensive graphics, but remember that Konami did lose the source code decades ago, and I'm only guessing they don't want to repeat the HD collection all over again. For me, I just view this situation like the two cakes meme, but that's just me. Okay, so the Silent Hill 2 remake was done by Blooper Team. I have no idea why Konami has done this thing with Silent Hill as a series where they pass it on to American studios. I'm only guessing because they guess Americans can tell an American story. I don't know. But unlike games like the absolute garbage that is Homecoming and the meh-ness that is Downpour, Blooper Team is a very capable studio. Blooper Team is largely known for Layers of Fear, a horror game inspired by PT actually. Some find the first Layers of Fear story to be bad, but personally I liked it. It just depends on how you feel about the tortured artist trope, I guess. Since the game's release, it's been met with overwhelming positive reviews from all spectrum of gamers, from professional reviewers, newbies who have never heard of Silent Hill before, and even diehard fans like me who notice every pixel of texture in the game is accurate to the original. However, the game did receive some criticism for being, quote, Resident Evil 2's remake with a Silent Hill overlay, so let's check for ourselves if this is just as good as the original game or worse than the movies. I'll also be spoiling the game, but I won't go into detail on a lot of aspects, so let's get started. You play as James Sunderland, a man looking for his wife Mary in the town of Silent Hill located in Maine. Except his wife died of a disease 3 years ago, so what's she doing here? As you play, you find out Silent Hill was special to them because before it went to shit with the cult stuff, it was a normal, beautiful lakeside Maine town, and they spent their lovey-dovey honeymoon there. Along the way, James meets multiple characters who mirror aspects of himself, and how you interpret James is left to both how you play at the game itself and your own personal view. Regardless of how you view James, he killed his wife and the guilt is consuming him to the point where he lied to himself in a mental breakdown that she died 3 years ago when her illness started instead of a couple hours ago. James's motive for why he killed Mary is left completely up to the player on why. Did he kill her because he was sick of taking care of a sick wife? Did he kill her out of mercy, or so he could be with other women and not live with the guilt of cheating? It's all up to you, really. Personally, my favorite ending is Leave, and my perspective is more mercy when you consider how much she was suffering with her unspecified disease. That's one thing I found brilliant about the game, is the fact that James's motive and even character massively depends on your experiences, so there's no right or wrong way to interpret James beyond the guilt of killing the woman he loved. With a story so complex and character-driven, I think it's extremely important that any new material keeps that up where James' perspective and character is still as open as the other scenes in the original game. So that's why I was shocked by the new scenes with Maria, which I believe was done so that you believe she's human as Angela and Eddie are, even though she's quite literally a manifestation either meant to tempt James into being selfish or James's lustful thoughts. Like I said, all on you to interpret how Maria fits into this narrative. The new scenes fit like a puzzle piece, and other than that, the team did a brilliant job at keeping the original story intact and polished. Overall, I am stunned to see them keep such a complicated and incredible story as perfectly told as the original team did. Now, the gameplay did enhance the combat. If you don't know, James in the original moves like a brick inside of an inflatable tube man, aka the combat was clunky as shit. It was done on purpose, of course, and I don't mind because I got used to it after a while in the original. But that said, modern players aren't going to accept clunky gameplay on purpose. Everyone kept saying the combat is action-oriented and a copy and paste of Resident Evil 2's, but now James swings like an inflatable tube man. Just the control response is tighter, and this time you can actually dodge via the spacebar instead of trying to move his clunky ass out of the way. It's not really action-oriented to me. I've played action-based combat before loads of times, and this doesn't feel like action and more like, get the fuck away from me, I need to survive. That said, before you could definitely go to an area in the game without killing something, but I can't really say the same. This feels more survival, if only because the enemies definitely hit pretty hard and feel a lot more intimidating, especially the lying figures and bobblehead nurses. The noises they make don't help either. Oh my gosh. That said, I was very bad at this new combat system, so I did have to lower it to an easier difficulty, and trust me, my dumbass didn't have an easier time. The environment and atmosphere feel a lot more tense too, but easier to navigate. One of the most difficult areas is walking around town to me, because before, everything felt very samey, but this time it didn't take that long for me to get to the apartment, whereas before, it took my ass a while, because I kept getting lost in the fog. When you are in an area, you still have the flashlight, but it's a lot dimmer than the original, so it makes for a more tense atmosphere because you don't have a wider sight to see what's going on in the area. This was especially the case in the hospital because of all the shells and debris, making it hard to see, so let's just say I got scared and squeaked quite a few times while playing. The scares are also heightened too. No jump scares like that because that's a low-budget slasher movie kind of thing. Instead, it's very subtle and makes you question yourself. A great example being that I was in a later area of the apartments when I walked by a door and heard banging on it. Scared the shit out of me because it happened so faintly that I couldn't tell whether I was hearing it in-game or maybe there was a neighbor outside or something. I mean, it was the game, but you know, it still scared the shit out of me. The map is also fucking blessed because now it shows you where you are instead of having to rely heavily on landmarkers to determine where you are. The hospital was always a bitch to navigate before because obviously a hospital is so uniformed, and especially if you want the leave ending, you have to avoid a certain room entirely in the hospital. So I'm glad that now the map actually marks where you are and makes it easier to navigate. The game helps with hints for puzzles you haven't completed or mark where they are so you can get back to it much easier. Speaking of the puzzles, I feel like there is just a teensy bit more backtracking this time around, but also entirely new. There were a lot of new puzzles that I didn't recognize in the slightest, which, by the way, I was playing on standard for those curious. Some puzzles were very clever and easy to understand, while others I genuinely struggled to get a grip on. This sounds really silly, but one of them I was able to solve completely without doing the puzzle, solely because I guessed from the hint on the wall about the direction in which you turn the dial on the lock. I'd say the puzzles in general are genuinely really fun though. I love brain teasers and puzzles, so it was a great brain scratcher. Another thing I want to massively praise is the detail in the game they kept and improved. From Mary's body being in the back of the car in the beginning, all the dead bodies being reuses of James' model, and especially purposefully making James look more tired and mentally worn out as you progress in the game. That part genuinely shocked me, and it wasn't a detail I noticed until I was going through the art book. From the art book alone, you can tell Blooper Team loves Silent Hill, and not only put all the original meticulous detail back in, but even added a few of their own that feel like they would have been in the original anyway if it wasn't for graphical capabilities. Though I do agree with everyone that Maria's model just looks slightly awkward because her head is kind of big. It's so weird to me when everyone else is really proportionate, even Mary, so I don't know, maybe it's a glitch or something. Overall, the gameplay is absolutely flawless, and I've never seen a game both faithfully and lovingly adapt a PS2 game since, like, what, Kingdom Hearts 1's remaster? Silent Hill 2 is a game that has always meant the world to me. It's my favorite video game of all time, and I think it always will be. I mean, Omori came close, but it's like number 2 for a reason. That said, to have a game so wonderfully adapt the game I love into a new format for old and new fans is something I think I've never seen before. I know everyone talks about how amazing the Resident Evil remakes are, and that much is true, but I think something so carefully crafted like Silent Hill 2 is a marvel to see that's so masterfully remade with the same love and passion the original team had. I mean, I guess it doesn't help that a few of the OGs like the director, Akira Yamaoka and Masahiro Ito, all made a return as consultants for Bloober Team, so maybe it was obvious it was gonna be good if the main driving force for the game's careful crafting were there to tell them the intentions, but you know, they say lightning doesn't strike the same place twice for a reason, and somehow Bloober Team was able to strike the same place twice with extreme precision. You can find Silent Hill 2 on PlayStation 5 and Steam for now, with plans in the new year to put it on Xbox. I don't know about other areas like PlayStation 4, and I think we all know that sadly it can't be on the Switch due to the console's pretty low graphical capabilities. What do you guys think of Silent Hill 2 though? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I did, but as always, let me know down below. And hey, Halloween is next week, so have a safe Halloween, guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!